Title: Echoes of Survival Chapter 1. A normal summer morning, the sun crept over the rolling hills of Idaho Falls, Idaho, casting a golden glow across Belmont Street. It was a typical summer morning in July 2025, with the air carrying the faint scent of blooming lilacs and fresh-cut grass. Sean, a 38-year-old Iraq War veteran, stirred in his bed, his calloused hands instinctively reaching for the empty space where his wife, Brandy, usually slept. She was already up, her footsteps echoing softly in the kitchen as she prepared for another day at Journeys, the autism support center where she worked as a social worker. Downstairs, Sean's parents, John and Michelle, were beginning their day in the basement apartment of the modest two-story home. Their 15-year-old grandson, James, Sean's nephew, was sprawled across the couch, half asleep, his summer break routine of late mornings and video games in full swing. Sean, now a stay-at-home husband, roused himself, his military discipline never far beneath the surface. "James, up. We've got chores," he called, his voice firm but warm. In the kitchen, Brandy, 35, adjusted her dark hair into a quick ponytail, her hazel eyes scanning the counter for her keys. Her Toyota Highlander SUV waited in the driveway, its silver paint gleaming under the morning sun. The TV in the living room blared a breaking news alert, but Brandy, in her rush, didn't catch the urgent tone of the anchor's voice warning of a strange infection spreading in nearby cities. She grabbed her purse, kissed Sean on the cheek, and headed out the door, her mind already on her clients, particularly 9-year-old Michael, a bright but nonverbal boy with autism who had a special place in her heart. Outside, John stepped onto the front porch, a steaming mug of coffee in one hand and a cigarette in the other. The neighborhood was quiet, save for the distant hum of a lawnmower. He took a drag, exhaling slowly, when a piercing scream shattered the calm. Down the street, a figure staggered, then lunged at a neighbor jogging by. John froze, his coffee mug slipping from his hand and shattering on the porch. "Michelle," he shouted, bolting inside. Chapter 2. Chaos erupts inside. Sean and James were mid-argument about vacuuming when John burst in, his face pale. "Something's wrong out there." Screaming, fighting, turn on the news. Michelle, her gray hair still in curlers, fumbled with the remote. The TV screen flashed with a red banner, "Emergency alert, unknown infection causing violent behavior. Stay indoors. Do not let anyone inside." Sean's military instincts kicked in. "James, stay with your grandparents." He sprinted upstairs, his heart pounding. In the bedroom, he pulled open the gun safe, grabbing his 3 AR-15 rifles, a Beretta 92 FS handgun, and a tactical holster. He strapped the holster to his thigh, sliding the Beretta into place. Brandy's Ruger 9mm carbine rifle and .380 handgun went into a backpack along with magazines and ammo. Back downstairs, he handed an AR-15 to John, who had served briefly in Vietnam and knew his way around a rifle, and another to James, whose eyes widened but nodded with determination. "You know how to use this, kid. Stay sharp." Sean dialed Brandy's number, his hands steady despite the adrenaline. The line rang as he glanced out the window, seeing more figures, shambling, bloodied, their eyes vacant yet predatory, moving down Belmont Street. Chapter 3. Brandy's escape. Brandy pulled into the Journeys parking lot, her SUV's tires crunching on the gravel. The center was unusually quiet, but as she stepped out, chaos erupted. Across the street, a group of people, no, things, attacked a delivery driver, their movements jerky yet relentless. Zombies. The word hit her like a freight train. She spotted Michael, her young client, sprinting from the fray, his small frame weaving through the chaos. "Michael," she shouted, waving him toward the SUV. He clambered into the passenger seat, his eyes wide with fear, rocking slightly, a familiar self-soothing motion. "It's okay, buddy. I've got you," Brandy said, her voice calm despite her racing heart. Her phone buzzed. It was Sean. "Brandy, it's bad. Zombies, stay away from anyone acting strange. Meet us at the mall, Barnes and Noble parking lot. We're heading there now." "Sean, what's..." Gunshots crackled through the phone, followed by a scream. the line went dead. Brandy's hands trembled as she gripped the wheel, pulling out of the lot. The streets of Idaho Falls were a nightmare, cars abandoned, people running, zombies lunging. She floored the gas, weaving through the chaos toward the Grand Teton Mall. Chapter 4, The Fall of Belmont Street. Back at the house, a zombie crashed through the living room window, its decayed hands clawing at Michelle. She screamed as it bit into her arm. John opened fire, the AR-15's report deafening in the small room. The zombie collapsed, but more were coming. Sean rushed to his mother, but it was too late, her eyes were already glazing over, blood pooling beneath her. John fell to his knees, sobbing. "Dad, we can't stay here," Sean said, his voice hard but cracking. "We mourn later. Move." He pulled John to his feet, grabbing James by the shoulder. They sprinted to John's Chevy SUV in the driveway, zombies closing in. Military and police helicopters roared overhead, their loudspeakers blaring, "Evacuate to designated safe zones." John drove, his hands shaking, while Sean scanned the streets from the passenger seat, AR-15 ready. James clutched his rifle in the back, his face pale but resolute. Belmont Street was a war zone, neighbors fighting off zombies, houses burning, screams echoing. Chapter 5, The Mall Rendezvous. Brandy reached the mall, her SUV skidding into the Barnes and Noble parking lot. Michael clung to her arm, his breathing uneven. She spotted John's Chevy pulling in, followed by two other vehicles, a pickup truck and a minivan, each carrying survivors. Sean leapt out, his eyes locking with Brandy's. They ran to each other, embracing tightly. "You're okay," he whispered, then noticed Michael. "Who's this?" "Michael, one of my kids." "He's with us now," Brandy said firmly. Sean nodded, handing her the backpack with her Ruger rifle and handgun. She checked the weapons, her hands steady from years of range practice with Sean. The other survivors introduced themselves, a middle-aged couple, Tom and Lisa, from the pickup, and a family of three, Mark, Sarah, and their teenage daughter, Emily, from the minivan. They quickly agreed to stick together, their 4 vehicles forming a convoy. "We head north to Rigby," Sean said, his voice commanding. "There's a National Guard checkpoint there." Chapter 6, The Road to Rigby. The convoy rolled out, navigating the chaotic streets of Idaho Falls. Zombies swarmed abandoned cars, and smoke rose from distant fires. At the edge of town, they hit a traffic jam on Highway 20. A tangle of wrecked vehicles and attacking zombies. "We're on foot from here," Sean ordered, distributing ammo. Brandy kept Michael close, her Ruger carbine at the ready. The group fought their way through, Sean and John taking point, their AR-15s cutting down zombies. Tom and Mark fired shotguns, while Lisa, Sarah, and Emily used handguns. Brandy guarded Michael, her .380 barking when a zombie got too close. But the horde was relentless. A wave of zombies overwhelmed Tom and Lisa, their screams cut short. Mark pushed Sarah and Emily behind him, only to be tackled and torn apart. Sarah and Emily fled but were quickly overrun. Sean, Brandy, James, John, and Michael pressed on, reaching a clearing where National Guard Humvees roared in. Soldiers opened fire, mowing down zombies. A sheriff's deputy shouted, "Get in. We're heading to the transient reactor test facility, evac zone." Chapter 7, The Evacuation in the Humvees. The group caught their breath. Michael rocked silently, clutching Brandy's hand. The convoy sped toward the test facility, but a zombie horde ambushed them on a back road. One Humvee swerved, tipping over with a sickening crunch. John, in the front vehicle, was thrown through the windshield, his body lifeless. Sean's face hardened, but he said nothing, his focus on survival. At the transient reactor test facility, the National Guard had set up a fortified evac zone. Helicopters buzzed overhead, ferrying survivors out. But as Sean's group arrived, a massive zombie horde breached the perimeter. Soldiers fought desperately, buying time for a Black Hawk helicopter to land. The pilot shouted, "3 seats left." Sean pushed Brandy, James, and Michael toward the chopper. "Go," he yelled, firing his AR-15 into the horde. Brandy hesitated, tears streaming down her face. "I'm not leaving you." "You have to," Sean said, his voice breaking. "Take care of James and the kid." He kissed her fiercely, then turned back to the fight. Brandy climbed aboard, holding Michael and James as the helicopter lifted off. Below, Sean and the soldiers battled the zombies, their gunfire fading into the distance. Chapter 8, The Island Haven. The Black Hawk landed on Dixon Island, a military holdout in Canada's cold north. The pilot explained that zombies struggled in colder climates, moving slower or freezing entirely. Brandy, James, and Michael settled into the base, a makeshift community of survivors. Brandy took on a role counseling other refugees, while James helped with supply runs. Michael, though nonverbal, began to open up, drawing pictures of the chaos they'd escaped. Months passed, winter settling in. The island's harsh cold slowed the zombie threat, offering a fragile hope. Then, in late November, a distress call crackled over the CB radio, 4 survivors trapped on a bank rooftop in downtown Idaho Falls. Brandy, knowing the area, volunteered for the rescue mission. Chapter 9. The rescue. The helicopter touched down on the bank's roof at dawn, the streets below crawling with zombies. 4 figures emerged, emaciated and ragged, 3 National Guardsmen and, Brandy's heart stopped, Sean. His face was gaunt, his uniform torn, but his eyes lit up when he saw her. She ran to him, their embrace fierce as the sun rose, casting a red glow over the ruined city. The guardsmen, weak but alive, were helped aboard. Sean whispered, "I knew you'd make it." Brandy clung to him, tears freezing on her cheeks. As the helicopter lifted off, Sean stared out the window at the horizon, the world below a desolate wasteland of zombies and ruins. He squeezed Brandy's hand, a silent promise to face this new world together. Epilogue. Back on Dixon Island, Sean recovered, his strength returning with the support of Brandy, James, and Michael. The survivors built a community, learning to live in a world forever changed. The zombies remained a threat, but in the cold, they were less formidable. Sean and Brandy stood together, watching the sunrise, ready to fight for whatever future they could carve out in this new, haunted world. The end.